everyone, welcome to the Bodhi Academy. In today's video, we are going to continue with the 12th standard biology chapter, that is evolution. So, let us begin. So, evolution by natural selection. Now, for evolution by natural selection, we have an example in the textbook, that is evolution by natural selection. An interesting observation has come from England, that is before industrialization set in. It was observed that there were more white-winged moths on the tree than the dark-winged moths or the melanized moths. However, from the same area after industrialization, it was reversed, that is there were more dark-winged moths than the light-winged or the white-winged moths. Now, why this happened? Now, before industrialization, the tree barks were there was a growth of the lichens. So, on these tree barks there was growth of lichens which are almost whitish in color, and these lichens covered the entire bark of the trees. And the white moths which were there, they could easily camouflage and hide in this lichened bark. Whereas the dark colored moth which were there, they got a contrasting background and thus they were spotted by the predators. So the predators will spot a moth against a contrasting background, and during the post-industrialization period, the tree trunks became dark due to industrial smoke and soot. So what happened? After industrialization, all the tree trunks which were there, they become dark colored due to the deposition of smoke and soot, and also the lichens, they disappeared because they do not grow in polluted areas. So after post industrialization, the dark colored moth, they could camouflage on the background and they could survive, whereas the white colored moth which were there, they were quickly spotted by the predators. So under this condition, the white-winged moth did not survive due to predators, whereas the dark-winged or the melanized moth survived. Now, before industrialization set in, the thick growth of almost white-colored lichens covered the trees, and in that background, the white-winged moth survived, but the dark-winged moth were picked by the predators. So, as I said, the lichens will not grow in areas that are polluted. So, they are an indicator of a pollution in a certain areas. So, now this showed that in a mixed population, those that can adapt better survive and increase in population. So, in the pre-industrialization period, the white moths could adapt better to the background and to the conditions, and thus they survived and their population increased. Whereas after the industrialization or post-industrialization, those dark-winged moths, they were able to survive and increase in population, whereas the population of white-winged moth decreased. So this is one example. Then talking about the evolution by anthropogenic action, that is resistance of mosquitoes to pesticides. Now when DDT was introduced to control mosquitoes, it was tremendously successful. That is, most of the mosquitoes which were there, they were sensitive to DDT and they were killed by DDT. Now in that population of mosquitoes, few mosquitoes became resistant, so they were not affected by DDT and hence they survived. Now only these mosquitoes which were resistant, they multiplied and they increased their population, and thus almost all of the mosquito population became resistant to DDT. So they multiplied and now almost total population of mosquitoes became resistant to DDT. Now same pattern was observed in bacteria which are multi-drug resistant. So they have resistance to multiple drugs due to excess use of medicines or the drugs. Then What is adaptive radiation? So the process of evolution of different species in a given geographical area. So in a specific geographical area starting from one point and radiating to other areas of geography or habits is called as adaptive radiation. Now an example of this is the Darwin's finches. So Darwin's finches represent one of the best example of adaptive radiation. Then Australian marsupials, each with different form, other evolved from the one ancestral stock, but all within the Australian island continents. So when more than one adaptive radiation appeared to have occurred in an isolated geographical area, we can call this as a convergent evolution. We have learnt about convergent evolution and divergent evolution in the previous videos. Then talking about the biological evolution. Now the nature selects for fittest and fitness is based on the characters which are inherited. So whatever traits that are inherited by the offspring, the fitness of the population will depend on those traits. So some organisms are better adapted to survive in otherwise hostile environments. So as we said, the resistance to DDT. So some organisms or some of the mosquitoes were better adapted to survive or to resist the effects of DDT. That is the hostile environment. That is, the fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt and get selected by nature. Then Lamarck had said that evolution of life forms had occurred but driven by the use and disuse of organs. So some organisms use their organs in certain way to evolve and some organisms disuse, that is they discontinued the use of certain organs. So he gave the example of giraffe to evolve their neck by foraging on tall trees and had to adapt by elongation of their necks. So he gave the example of giraffe. So to evolve and to forage or to feed on the leaves of tall trees, they had to elongate their necks. Then branching descent and natural selection were the two concepts of the Darwinian theory of evolution, and the Darwin theory of natural selection was based on most these certain observation like the limitation or limited natural resources. That is, when there were limited natural resources, certain population of organisms competed, and the more fitter one or those who can adapt to those conditions, that is limited resources better, those were flourished or increased in number. Then overpopulation, competition for resources, struggle for existence, and the survival of fittest. So these were the observation done by Darwin. Then talking about a brief account of evolution. Now about 2000 million years ago, the first cellular forms of life appeared on Earth. Very first cellular forms, that is a single cell form of life, appeared on Earth about 2000 million years ago. Then these slowly single celled organisms became multicellular forms, and by the end of or by the time of 500 million years ago, invertebrates were formed and they were active. Then the jawless fishes evolved around 350 million years ago, and organisms started to invade from water to land. Then fish with stout and strong fins which could not move on land, they again went back to the waters. Now these animals called the lobe fins evolved into the first amphibians. Then later these amphibians evolved into reptiles. They laid shelled eggs, and then reptiles of different shapes and sizes were formed and they dominated the earth. For example, fish-like reptiles, that is the ichthyosaurus, and the land reptiles, that is the dinosaurs. Then some of the reptiles also evolved into birds, and later some of them evolved into mammals. Now the mammals were viviparous, that is they directly gave birth to the young ones, and they were more intelligent in sensing and avoiding danger. So this is all in this chapter. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, share and subscribe to the Modi Academy.